But we're going to start. Put your hands back up. With the check-in presented by Allstate. The earliest check-in in history. But
wow.
It's because Jared Goff he's so hot right now. He was 22 for 25 again as the Lions handed the Vikings their first loss. He was the first one to sort of pierce the Vikings defense, the vaunted Brian Flores defense. And this is coming after a week where we had some, not trepidations, but we wanted to see how the Lions would respond once sort of the adrenaline wore off post Hutchinson injury. We had the news this week that maybe he's going to come back for the Super Bowl, but they responded by being a dominant offense. Was this performance enough to quell any concerns for you about their lack of pass rush?
No, because they didn't compensate for the pass rush. The pass rush still wasn't there. I mean, they still did well as they needed to on defense, but this has kind of become an offensive team, and that's how they're going to be led. I think when I look at them, and this is probably a good generalization for how I'm looking at a lot of teams this season, is when I look at the Lions in isolation, I'm like, all right, they're good, but they aren't like great. And then I think that they can get beaten by someone else. And then I look around the rest of the conference and I'm like, are any of these other teams even good enough? And so it's kind of like by comparison, they're incredible, but they have some big holes that I would at important places that I would normally say is disqualifying. And that's like pass rush. You got to have some sort of pass rush. If it's blitz generated with great coverage in the back end, or if it's just front four, you have to have some way to consistently get pressure on the quarterback, and they don't.
Yeah, Sam Darnold had plenty of time to throw the football in this game. They were even commenting on it in the broadcast, which is usually not typically something that's going to comment on this kind of stuff as the game goes on. There's no pass rush whatsoever, and that was the case for the majority of this game. They're either going to have to find a pass rush or be so good everywhere else that they can just win shootouts. And this was not like a 45-44 kind of shootout, but it was an offense-first game. And the difference between kind of the old Lions and the Lions we saw on Sunday was that Jared Goff was unconscious under pressure. And that this has been the book on Jared Goff as long as we have been doing this, as long as we have been talking about football, going back, some would say, to the Stone Ages, to the original Renaissance. The book on Jared Goff has always been get pressure on him, and he's a different guy. He routinely ranks among the bottom of the league's quarterbacks in QBR when he gets pressured.
Which is why it would have figured that this Vikings matchup would have been tough. I'm sorry, Bill,
Yes.
did you have more?
I have a stat. I came back with numbers. That's what Las Vegas gave to me.
I missed
Jared
this.
Goff.
Stat me down.
Jared Goff, under pressure on Sunday, 11-12 for 164 and 2 touchdowns.
Oof.
Jared Goff was unconscious against pass pressure in a matchup where not only did the Vikings take an early 10-0 lead, but in a matchup where you would expect, to your point, Brian Flores to have all those exotic pressures dialed up, to have Jared Goff shook. And Jared Goff got taken down a couple times early in this game. It wasn't like he was great from the very beginning. They got pressure on him early, and it didn't matter because Jared Goff was playing on a different level. And to me, yes, I think the pass rush is a problem. Yes, but if this is the actual Jared Goff we're going to get the rest of the way, this offense is unstoppable.
Yeah, the old Lions would be a problem without Aiden Hutchinson. But I think that the remaining boxes that this team needed to check, one of them was Jared Goff. But I think we all kind of checked that box last year in the playoffs. At least I did. And not saying that he was going to be great, but I know that he has the ability to make those tough plays from time to time and to come back in situations like in this game. And I think the point that you were making about the pass rush and Jared Goff under pressure is why this game was a very important one for us to watch. And I know that the Lions understand that, because in watching this game, you saw that their number one priority was to make sure that Jared Goff was protected. And I know you can say that about most quarterbacks or most game plans, but it's not true. You watch this game and you watch the type of personnel that they had on the field. They motioned a wide receiver over at one point to join into the protection. It was clear that these guys were going to check release. They were going to stay in. Mm-hmm. And the way that the Vikings have been tormenting everyone is with a lot of sims. So they get you to react as if it's a blitz and gets you a free runner, but they're still only sending 4. And you don't know which side or the middle that it's going to happen on. So it seemed like the Lions were determined to keep everyone in until the Vikings declared. Until they declared where the pressure was coming from. Then the people on the backside were released and stay. So there was none of that issue where you get a free runner on a 4-man rush and you still have 7 back in coverage. That's what's killing people, because you can't have a blitz and have coverage at the same time and think you're going to win. So the Lions were determined to figure, and they were running the ball in those situations, doing draws, doing all the things that we know can give the Sims trouble, because like a draw would work, particularly because the Sim is a guy backing out. So he's going the wrong direction if you're running a draw right at him. But anyway, the bottom line is the Lions were determined to make sure Jared Goff was not going to be, even if he was going to be blitzed, he wasn't going to be pressured too much.
When you say Brian Flores was working the Sims, I'm just imagining him with those little video game Sims running around, just an exclamation point over their head as they're panicking. That was not Jared Goff in this game. Jared Goff was chill. Jared Goff's life meter was absolutely intact throughout the entire game. And we saw, like, they were able to hit shots on the Vikings. This was not a game where they were dinking and dunking the ball. There were big plays from Jameer Gibbs. Monroe St. Brown had a big play against the pressure. Like, they were very comfortable finding shots and taking them downfield. And that is how teams are going to beat this Vikings defense, is making them pay when they want to come out with that exotic stuff, running the football on them, and then hitting big plays when they do bring those big pressures.
On the continuum of Music Festival to Ren Fair, where does Playing the Sims land? Is it midway? Is it closer Ren Fair? Is it closer Music Festival? Or is it not on this paradigm at all?
There's not a lot of, Sim City or The Sims at Ren Fairs. I feel like you try to keep those two separate.
Can I learn? I love Sim City when I was a kid. Oh, I love Sim City.
This Dominique's brain just broke because one of our producers brought up The Sims 5 minutes before the show, and Dominique's like, "What is going on? Like, what is going on?"
Nothing's wrong with The Sims.
No, it's just I feel like you probably hadn't thought about it in like years, and now
I loved Sim City when I was a kid. It was great.
Dominique just having Godzilla attack the Detroit Lions.